The world, and welcome to the James Strong Show podcast number 298. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for making us a part of your day. I appreciate it. This podcast was recorded on the morning of Sunday, January 1st, 2023, from the James Strong Studio in Western St. Charles County. Happy New Year. You may think the voice sounds a little different. It does. In fact, it may... In listening to my my original test spots, I almost sound like somebody from NPR. Kind of the low, more monotone, not so much inflection in the voice. Unfortunately, that's what I have to do today because, let's see, this is Sunday, and to the best of my knowledge, I'm probably 1 week away from catching COVID-19. So I suspect that happened last Sunday, Christmas Day. So, yeah, I've got COVID-19, and that's why I've been kind of laying low. How do I feel? I feel better. I feel better than I did before. It's been a long time. I mean, I dodged the bullet for, two and a half years, something like that. But I did dodge the bullet. The main problem I had, or I should say the main problem I've had the last few days has been the voice. My voice just has not come back. It's coming back a little bit every day. It's okay today, just so I get my my mouth right next to the microphone and don't talk in a loud voice. Kind of talk like I'm on NPR. NPR, all things considered. Anyway, so that's why the voice sounds a little bit different. COVID hits the Strongman. It finally happened. I knew it would. The reason I say I knew it would is because my doctor told me that it would. I'm very fortunate. I have a good doctor, Dr. Tim Hung, out of Lake St. Louis, out of SE Health. Fantastic doctor. Good man, has helped me out of a lot of problems. And he told me, look, you're going to get COVID. You should wear a mask when you need to. You should social distance when it's prudent. You should get your vaccinations and your boosters, because what that's doing is delaying the inevitable. And the inevitable is you're going to get it. But the longer you delay it, the more things we're going to have to help you out. If you get it, call me. I'll give you the latest thing, and we'll make it as painless for you as possible. And that's exactly what happened. I'm going to talk about how I believe I got it, what happened, and how I kind of muddled through the whole COVID-19 that hit me a week ago. So before we do that, I just want to mention a website that I've liked a lot, and I started to research this website, and it's getting a lot of bad press, and I don't know why. And you may have seen it because the Drudge Report uses it for links a lot. It's called capital D, capital N, YUZ. News. I don't know what. I don't know if that's the pronunciation or even if it has a pronunciation. But this website has a lot of good articles, well-written articles. But they don't do any of their own articles. They take articles from from different publications like the New York Times or CNN or one of those organizations, Washington Post, Washington Times, New York Post, and they just put the article with a disclaimer at the end saying, hey, this article originally appeared in the LA Times, the New York Times, the Washington Post, whatever, okay? And the reason they catch a lot of grief is because a lot of people say this is a website that's it's 100% plagiarism. And I disagree, because plagiarism is taking something and representing it as somebody else did and representing it as something that you did. That's not what they do at this DNYUZ. They put a story out there, and at the end they say it originally appeared in this publication, which is what a lot of people do. A whole lot of people do that. Now, could they put that at the top? Could they also reference the individual who wrote the article? Maybe. And maybe that would be something good they can do. But I find this to be a good website, and I'll tell you why. Because most of these publications, The New York Times, the LA Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, they have firewalls. And I understand why they have firewalls, because they want you to buy their subscription if you want to read their content. I personally subscribe to the Wall Street Journal. I pay $40 a month to read that publication online. That's a lot of money, but it's worth it. If I want to share something with somebody, I can email them and they can read it, but I can't post it to social media because it throws up the firewall. What this DYNUZ does is they do a copy paste, call it their own story, but then credit them at the bottom. So they're getting past the firewall. So you can read a lot of good stories from a lot of good publications without having to go through the firewall. Are firewalls a good thing? I don't know. I mean, they can be. If you consider, what I want to say, I understand why, because they don't have true newspapers, everything's online, these people have to make their money somehow. I understand that. But I pay $40 a month for the Wall Street Journal. I'm not going to pay the same thing for the New York Times, for the Washington Post, for whoever, the LA Times. Bloomberg is even that way. Bloomberg wants you to pay. I can't pay for all this stuff. It would be ridiculous. It'd be hundreds of dollars a month just to read publications. I'm not going to do that. That's more than it used to cost just to get the paper publication. So you read on these sites like DYNUZ or DNYUZ, and you can read some of the stories that are some of the bigger news stories. Is it right? Is it wrong? I don't know. But if you want to read this kind of stuff, DNYUZ, good source for news. Now let's get back to the meat of the podcast. COVID hits the strongman. It finally did. I suspect this hit me on Saturday night. Actually, not Sunday. The reason I say that is we attended Christmas Eve Mass with the whole family on Saturday night, and the place was packed to the gills. Should I have worn a mask? Yeah. Did I wear a mask? No. And that was the most crowded place I had been without wearing a mask, maybe since before COVID. Okay. I've just avoided big crowds, period. Sometimes you can't, like on an airplane. So I wear a mask. This place was as crowded as an airplane, folks. And I didn't wear a mask. That was Saturday night. By Sunday, I still felt fine. By Monday, I was getting a little bit of a sniffle, but I was with grandkids on Saturday night and on Sunday. So when you're around grandkids sneezing in your face, you're going to get sniffles. So no big deal. Woke up Monday. Okay, now I think I have a full-blown cold because I'm having to get up, blow my nose before I get up. Don't feel achy, feel fine. Went to the gym, went to work on Tuesday. And then Tuesday night, something happened. It was 8 o'clock at night. And I was just watching television. And I just started feeling crappy. Horrible. I thought, you know what? It's been a long day. All the Christmas festivities. I wasn't eating right. All kinds of stuff going on here. So I probably just need to go to bed, right? So I did. Got ready for bed, went to bed about 9 o'clock. I had a restless night of sleep. It was a really restless night of sleep. So much so I thought to myself, you know, this is a problem. I had dreams thinking this is something different than I've ever had. I bet I've got COVID. And then the anxiety set in and I couldn't go back to sleep. Got up on Wednesday morning about 5 o'clock in the morning, came down, took a test, bang, I'm positive for COVID. Shortly thereafter, my wife came down, told her what's going on. She took a test. She too, positive for COVID. She has no symptoms, but I'm feeling horrible by now. I think, okay, I've got COVID. This is a big deal. I'll call the doctor at 8 o'clock. So I did, got a hold of them. Let us call you back. They called back very shortly and they said, okay, here's what we need to do. They put me on a drug called Paxlovid. More on that drug later. It's wonderful. But we'll talk more about that later. He said, We'll write your prescription for Paxlovid. You also need to take Tylenol. You need to take ibuprofen. You need to take Zyrtec. You need to take Mucinex DX. I said, all of it? Yep, all of it. And they gave me times as to when to take it. So basically, I'm taking a pill all the time, just loading myself down, cocktail after cocktail after cocktail. And, but this is a doctor I trust. And I'm very fortunate. In fact, I've been very fortunate for a long time. I had a very good general practitioner for a long time. He retired. He sold his practice to this new guy, Dr. Tim Hung, out of Lake St. Louis. And I thought to myself, okay, I don't know this guy. What do you think? So I had a meeting with my old doctor and the new doctor. And I told him right in front of him, I said, look, tell me about this guy. He's a good man. He's going to be my doctor. You'll like him a lot. And sure enough, he's been wonderful. He always takes time for you. He's a good doctor. He's a practical person. And that's kind of what you want. You want to get a good doctor. And I'm fortunate I have a good doctor. Because I have a good doctor, I trusted him. And he sent me this cocktail of Paxlovid and ibuprofen and Tylenol and Zyrtec and what was the other one? Mucinex DX, okay? And drink lots of water and take it easy. It was easy to take it easy because basically on Wednesday I did little but sleep. I was shot. I hurt. I had a fever. I had no voice to speak of. Just walking upstairs exhausted me. I thought, well, this is what COVID's all about. I couldn't think straight. Didn't really feel like eating. All kinds of problems. But I took my first dosage of Paxlovid Wednesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You take it every 12 hours. Took my next one at 1 o'clock in the morning. And by Tuesday mid-morning, I was starting to feel pretty good. I'm sorry, Thursday mid-morning, I was starting to feel pretty good. So 24 hours ago, I felt horrible, like I'd never been sick before. 24 hours later, I'm feeling pretty good. The fever was gone. I didn't hurt. My voice was gone, but that's okay. So much so that on Thursday, we had a problem with the dishwasher, and it had a problem with the dishwasher for quite some time. The door that dispenses the detergent, it wouldn't work. So I kind of we'll order a new one. Well, we went to order it, and they're all on back order, 4-week back order. So I kind of jury-rigged the one that we had, fixed it so it worked okay, placed an order, okay, 4-week lead time. Well, that 4 weeks turned into more like 8 weeks. But it came a few weeks ago, okay? When I get time, I'm going to put this thing in. Thursday, I felt pretty good. So good, I fixed the dishwasher. Now, that meant taking off the door, separating the door, popping out the old, popping in the new after disconnecting the electric. Then you just go back in reverse. Took me about 45 minutes to do this. But I fixed the dishwasher on Thursday. Now, after that, I was exhausted and I took a nap. But I felt okay. Friday, I woke up. Felt better still. In fact, so much so, I thought, you know what? I've got a big list of parts for this Jaguar I'm restoring that I need to place an order for when the car comes back to me. So I need to inventory the parts. So got in the car, drove to the shop, did an inventory on everything I needed, came back, called 3 different places, and placed my orders for the parts that I needed. Now, before any of you lose your mind thinking, oh my God, you're supposed to be in quarantine and you left the house. I did leave the house. I got in my car by myself. I drove to my shop, which there was nobody at my shop. Nobody anywhere near there. Did my thing, got back in my car by myself and drove home. I guess that by the letter of the law, that's not quarantining, but I was around no one. I saw nobody. I was not within 100 feet of another individual. And when I was, we were outside. So by the spirit of the law, I was quarantining. Anyway, I got my stuff, ordered my parts. I was fine. difficult to order my parts because I really couldn't talk on the phone, but I figured it out. In fact, by Thursday, my voice was beginning to come back just a little bit. Friday, I woke up and, that was Friday. Saturday, I woke up feeling still better. And I thought, you know what? That little bit of what I did in the shop the other day was fine. I'm going to go back to my shop and actually work on Jaguar parts. So I did for about 5-6 hours yesterday. Saturday. And again, I wasn't around anybody. I was in my car by myself, in my shop by myself. So by the letter of the law, I'm still quarantining. All right. But working 5, almost 6 hours in that shop. And it was separating, taking the nuts off of off the headers off the car. And I had to separate the downpipe from the headers, which there's 8 bolts, and 7 of the 8 bolts came off just fine. And the 8th one broke. So I've got one busted stud, which I'll deal with later. But I did that. I also worked on cleaning up the reservoir for my the clutch fluid. I checked out my newer Jaguar, my Jaguar XE, which is out of warranty, by the way. And so I have to start doing my own work. Well, they want about $300 for an oil change for that car. That's not happening. So I'm getting the right oil. I bought a tool. It's a special tool that's used to suck the oil out of the spigot where you put the oil into it. You suck it out of the sump from the top, but it's a little vacuum tool that you use. Actually, it's a big vacuum tool that you use. And of course, it comes with about 17 different hoses, none of which fits my Jaguar. Surprise. So I have to go to the parts store today and buy a retrofit tube so that I can fit the a hose onto the spigot where the on the car that will mate with the spigot on the pump and get that done. But again, I spent 5, almost 6 hours working in that shop, came home, felt fantastic. Today is Sunday. This is day 6. So officially I'm out of quarantine, so I can be out and about with a mask on. And we went to Mass. I'm going to go to the store to buy all this kind of stuff, and there you go. Now, again, for those of you who are saying, "What are you doing, Strong?" Well, you're going out there, and you're only 6 days away from having testing positive for COVID. No, actually, I'm 5 days away from testing positive for COVID, but I'm 6 days from having my first symptoms, which is what you go by. Again, this is not something I made up. I'm going right off the CDC website, and it says, and I will quote. I will actually read this. It says, "If you test positive for COVID-19, isolate. Everyone, regardless of vaccination status, must isolate." And here's your bullet points. Stay home for 5 days. If you have no symptoms or your symptoms are resolving after day 5, you can leave your home after day 5. Okay, this is day 6. Continue to wear a mask around others for 5 additional days. If you have a fever, continue to stay home until your fever resolves. I have not taken ibuprofen for over 24 hours. I had no fever. I have no aches. I have no pains. You can hear the only problem that I have. So it says if you have no symptoms or if your symptoms are resolving, they are certainly resolving. So I'm out and about with a mask on. Why can I do that? The CDC says so. I'm following the CDC guidelines. And I've always been a fan of the CDC guidelines for the most part. It's not a conspiracy theory. The CDC is not a conspiracy theory. It is not a cabal created by Dr. Fauci to make sure that we all become lemmings and do what the government says. That's just ridiculous. If you think that, please think something else, or at least think a little harder. Now, excuse me, I take a sip of water so I don't lose my voice. Now, that's not to say that Dr. Fauci didn't suck. Dr. Fauci was horrible, okay? He was I would say a grandiose egomaniac at best, and a charlatan and a liar at worst. I have no idea why he hadn't gotten fired years ago, decades ago. And before any of you saying, well, yeah, Joe Biden should have fired him. And Donald Trump didn't fire him either. He was Donald Trump's man for 4 years. So I don't know if he had pictures of everybody or what, but nobody fired Dr. Fauci, and that includes Donald Trump. So he's as much, if you think he should have been fired, your boy Trump should have fired him too. They all should have fired him. Reagan probably should have fired him. Okay. The guy's horrible, but the CDC, their guidelines have for the most part been pretty good. If you remember, go back to the very original CDC plan. What was the original CDC plan? Vaccinate, social distance, mask, and why you do all that kind of stuff? To flatten the curve is not to inundate hospitals and to give medicine a chance to find relief for patients. Now, if they could play Monday morning quarterback, they probably would have said that and just shut up. But every third day they had to revise it or tweak it or change it or revise it, and that's where they screwed up. I don't think it was a plan problem. I think it was a communications problem, which is 90% of the problems we have in this world anyway. Somebody's not communicating properly. And again, Dr. Fauci should have been fired decades ago. Reagan should have fired him. Bush should have fired him. Clinton should have fired him. Bush should have fired him. Obama should have fired him. Trump should have fired him. Biden should have fired him. He's gone now anyway, so that's water under the bridge. Don't worry about it. And again, changing their mind every few days, or at least tweaking it every few days, that didn't help at all. But again, by the CDC guidelines, I've always followed them, the original ones, and the original ones weren't. I mean, again, it's a paragraph long. What do I need to do? Go to the CDC website, follow the instructions. I did it. Okay. And these are doctors. So I'm going to trust doctors a whole lot more than I'm going to trust somebody on Fox News or MSNBC or Reddit or Joe Rogan or any of those things. Okay. Now, I told you I'd get back to Paxlovid in just a little bit. Let me talk a little bit about Paxlovid. Sorry, I got to keep sipping water if I'm going to keep my voice up. Okay. Dr. Hung, my general practitioner, this was his magic potion, I think. In fact, he always told me, when you get COVID, he said, and you will, he said, call me. I'll have some type of viral something for you that'll make you feel a whole lot better as quickly as possible. And I asked him, I said, what will it be? He said, I don't know. It depends on when you get COVID. They're coming out with new stuff all the time. I'm staying up on it. I'm going to get you the best whenever that happens. And basically he said, look, you're going to get it because he said, look, I'm vaccinated. I'm boosted. I wear a mask and I wear a shield. And I got it. Everybody in my office got it. This is a pandemic. Almost everybody catches it during a pandemic. Even those that are asymptomatic, they caught it, didn't know it. That's just the way pandemics work. So he said, when you get it, call me. I'll help you out. What is Paxlovid? Well, according to the Yale Medicine website, which I think Yale Medicine, I think they know what they're doing. Okay. And it's actually 3 pills. It's a cocktail. It's 3 pills, 2 different medicines. The first 2 pills, it's a medicine called Nirmatrelvar. Okay, Nirmatrelvar, and I may be pronouncing that wrong. Nirmatrelvir. And what it does is it inhibits a key enzyme that the COVID virus requires in order to make a functional virus, in order to make functional virus particles. In other words, spread to new cells. Okay. So what it does is, since the virus can't infect new cells, the infection stops spreading any further. So that's what this drug does. The Nirmatrelvar. That's what that does. All right. The problem with that drug is it doesn't stay very effective for very long. You have to take it like every couple hours, and you really can't do that. Okay. Now, here's where it comes into being magic. There's another pill you take with it. It's called Ritonavir, Ritonavir. In fact, it's not a new drug. It's an old AIDS treatment drug. It didn't do a whole lot for AIDS, but what it does when mixed with this other drug, okay, with this nirmatrelvir, is it just ups its efficiency. And you see this with medicine a whole lot. Like you can't take this drug with that drug because it causes it to act too well. You can't drink grapefruit juice when you take this drug because it throws it through the ceiling. You can't eat leafy greens when you take warfarin or other blood thinners because it causes them to work more than prescribed, okay? That's what this is. Except when you take two drugs together, it makes it work not better, but keeps it working for longer. So if the only problem with the nirmatrelvir was it didn't work long enough, if you mix it with ritonavir, it acts longer. So the two work really well. The studies that I saw, and it's not FDA approved because the testing isn't finished. So much so that hey, can I drink alcohol with this? They say, we don't know. We didn't test that. Okay. So you don't drink alcohol with it. There you go. But like if you're taking cholesterol medicine, you can't take this cocktail. If you're on anxiety medicines, you can't take this cocktail. Other things, they give a whole list of medicines. Say, if you're on this, and it's a long list. If you're on any of these, you can't take this drug. I'm not on any of those, so I'm good. Okay. The only bad thing about it is you get something that's called Paxlovid mouth, and it leaves a horrible taste in your mouth, a horrible metallic taste. Okay. But I think I found a way around that by mistake. I'm going to share this with my doctor. I can't drink alcohol, but it's the holiday season, okay? So the trophy wife and I wanted to have happy hour before dinner. So she had a cocktail or a beer or something like that, and I would have a fake beer. And I'll have that sometimes, either like a Budweiser Zero, or Heineken makes a no-alcohol beer also. I'll have one of those. And the no-alcohol beer totally eliminates Paxlovid mouth. It takes the taste away. So I don't know if it's the hops, if it's the pH, I don't know what it is, but non-alcoholic beer seems to take away Paxlovid mouth. So that was the only bad side effect from it. And I drink a fake beer, which tasted good, and it went away. So it was good. And this thing has just been almost magical. Like I said, less than 24 hours after I took it, I went from feeling terrible, horrible, to not being able to move off the chair to, wow, I'm feeling good. I think I'll fix the washing machine, or the dishwasher rather. Now, here's a wrap up. And I do need to wrap up because my voice is getting ready to wrap up here. What did I do? I delayed the inevitable, okay? My doctor told me, look, you're going to get COVID. You're just going to get it unless you stay isolated forever, and I'm not doing that. So I delayed the inevitable. I took my vaccines. I took my boosters. I avoid crowds when I could. When I was in crowds, I wore a mask for the most part. The vaccine probably helped reduce the severity. And the reason I say that is because everything I read and my doctor tells me that, yeah, that's what it does. It reduces the severity, okay? Paxlovid, to me, was a godsend. It's only 6 months old. I don't even know if it's been available for 6 months, but after 6 months, they started saying, hey, this is good stuff. So it's cutting edge, the newest stuff. And my doctor had it for me, okay? Now, here's what I suggest you do. First off, if you don't have a good doctor, a good general practitioner that you can trust, get one. Find one. Talk to people. Find one and listen to him or her, okay? Having a good doctor is the difference between, literally can be the difference between life and death. And I mean a good doctor, a general practitioner that you can see. I don't mean Oh, well, I don't need to see a doctor. I listen to this doctor on Fox News, or I listen to this doctor on MSNBC, or a real doctor, not Dr. J, not Dr. Demento, not Dr. Laura, not Dr. Phil, not Dr. Oz. Well, I guess he is a real doctor, but you know what I mean. A real GP that you can see, talk to, communicate with, and call and actually get an answer back from him or her. You got to do that. And I've always done that kind of stuff. I've had since I've been an adult, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 general practitioners. Okay. The first one helped me out a ton. He was a good doctor. He was a good man. When I got I went to the Caribbean and I got a horrible infection. I don't know if I ate something or whatever, but I had a terrible intestinal infection. I was in the hospital for a week, but he cured me. He found out what it was. It was something halfway rare, gave me the right antibiotic. It put it to rest. Okay. Then he retired and he gave me to a guy who, I don't know, I forget the guy's name, Dr. Mohammed something or another. And the guy was just one of these guys where you're telling him your symptoms. He doesn't even look at you saying, tears you off a script, says, here, take this. I said, you didn't listen to my heart. You didn't let me finish telling you what was wrong. You didn't look in my throat. You didn't look in my ears. Well, I know this is what it is. I know what it is. Well, I told this guy, F you. I'm not listening to you. I'm changing doctors. And this guy was such an ass, he wouldn't transfer my records. He wanted money to transfer my records to my new doctor. Well, I started new. I was a young man. I could do that. And the next doctor I had was a wonderful doctor. But then at age 38, he decided that he wanted to go join the Air Force and become an Air Force doctor. So I lost him. I got my next doctor. And this was a guy that no matter what was wrong, he wanted to put you on allergy medicine. And so I fired him. Picked up my next doctor, Dr. Wepprich. Wonderful guy, great guy. But then he retired and then turned me over to Dr. Hung, who I guess I'll be good because Dr. Hung is, I think, 13 years younger than me, so he's not going to retire anytime soon. But he's a wonderful doctor. He's a good man. And that's what you need to do. Find you a good doctor, because if you don't have your health friends, you're screwed. Nothing else really matters. I've always considered myself, and dear listeners, I would advise you to do the same. Consider yourself a corporation or a business, okay? What do corporations or businesses do? They hire good people to help them. Hire a good doctor. Make sure you have a good lawyer. Make sure you have a good financial planner. Make sure you have a good plumber. Stuff you can't do yourself, okay? Hire a good one, because that's what corporations do. You have people who do stuff. And if they're not good at what they do, you send them on their way and get a new one. Send them on their way because they're not doing their job doesn't mean they don't agree with you. Because if they agree with you and they're going to do whatever you want, it doesn't work. Okay? Since you're paying them, listen to them. In fact, that's something the trophy wife has always told me. She said, why would you not listen to the person that you're paying good money to for advice? You hire them because they know more than you. You trust them. Listen to them. And that's sound advice. Listen to them or replace them. If you don't think they're competent, replace them. But I'm very fortunate. I have a good doctor. He treated me right. I'm well on the road to recovery. In fact, like I said, this is the sixth or seventh day? Sixth day? See, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So, yep, this is the 6th day. So I can go out and do my thing. I'm going to go out and do my thing with a mask for the next 5 days. After that, I can take the mask off and life is good. So there you have it. There's my COVID story. Everybody, I think, has one. Some people have gotten it and had next to no problem. Some people have gotten it and had huge problems. I know I have listeners that in that boat. Some people have gotten it and they're not around to hear the sound of my voice anymore. So I got it. I have a good doctor. He gave me a good cocktail. Life is good with the exception of my voice sounding like It's going to crack like a 13-year-old boy any minute now. I'm feeling pretty good. That's it. We're done. Happy New Year again to you all. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. That's the email address. JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. Send me your emails. I do love to read the emails. I do respond to all the emails. And if you or any of your friends want the podcast sent to your mailbox, simply send your email address to JamesStrongShow@hotmail.com. I will put you on the list, and you'll get an email with the link upon publication, so you can download it and listen to it at your leisure. That's it. I'm done. Until next time, this is James Strong saying adios.